Hi, I'm Michael from the violin shop at Riverton Music, and if you have just obtained a cello, there are a few things that you might like to know. First of all, when you remove it from the bag, be nice and careful. Try not to bump it, especially try not to bump the bridge. The bridges can be knocked down surprisingly easily, and in fact that brings up another good point. As you're hauling it around in the bag or in the case, it can happen in hard cases too, the bridges can get bumped, particularly in the bags. So don't let the front of the bag bump against things, because you can break a bridge, and to hire a violin shop to carve a new cello bridge is typically a fairly expensive proposition, so be very, very careful. In addition to that, as you're tuning the instrument for the first time, you'll need to know what the strings are. It's C, G, D, A. You can use a piano to tune it. Of course, you can't get it in too high of an octave or you'll break the strings. You can get electronic tuners and all sorts of other little tools to help you tune the instrument. I do recommend that you have a teacher do it for you until you learn how to do it yourself, and it's the sort of thing that takes some practice. As you tune it, don't tune over the pitch of the string, only tune up to the pitch of the string. If you tune over, it becomes very, very easy to break a string. You would almost certainly break a string tuning it in that way. Be careful about bumping the neck. As you store the instrument, don't lean it up against things, against a wall or anything. They can fall over, you can break the neck, you can break the bridge. In fact, you can cause cracks and all sorts of things. So leaning a cello up against a wall or something from which it can fall down is just not a good idea. So you just need to handle the instrument very, very carefully. When you are ready to play the instrument, you're going to want to use your bow. Now, we have a cello kit that has a few things, including rosin. It also, well, here's a picture of the kit right here. It has a piece of cleaning cloth, polish, rosin, and a rock stop. When you rosin the bow, well, first of all, let's tighten the bow. You want to tighten the bow just up, probably about that much. You don't want to tighten it very far. It's very bad for the bow if you do that. Now, I don't recommend that you touch the hair at all, because you want the hair to grip the string properly, and if you touch it, oils from your hands will get into the hair and make it kind of hard for it to take the rosin. But I'll show you this by way of illustration, just kind of enough that you could put your pinky in there if you were inclined to do that sort of thing. When you go to play, that's about how much to tighten it, about that much. As I say, just as a visual reference, but I don't recommend putting your finger in there often at all. When you're finished playing, loosen the screw on the end till the hair is pretty close to touching the stick. On a cello bow, usually won't quite touch. It might touch, and that's okay, but just till about the time it touches the stick. I'm going to put the cello aside for a minute. We'll talk about the bow some more. Now, with the bow, with rosining, you'll take out your cake of rosin, and you'll want to run the bow the full length along the rosin. You want to get it on nice and evenly. Now, you only do this until you can run the bow along the strings and it sounds like it's gripping properly. You don't want to do any more than what grips properly. If you do more, then it really gums up the hair, it'll gum up the strings, it'll leave a residue on the instrument that can fuse with the varnish and can be a real trick to clean. So just, and it also doesn't sound very good. It sounds kind of hissy. It has what in the violin shop we would call surface noise. So just along the length of the hair until it feels like it's going to play properly. As soon as it plays properly, then don't rosin it again until it feels like it's starting to slip. Now that I'm finished rosining, and I'm not actually going to be playing the cello, I make sure that I loosen it. Now the cello itself, I'd like to show you a little bit about polish and cleaning. This piece of cloth that comes with the instrument, or well, it comes with the kit, it may come with some instruments, Doesn't come with every instrument, it just depends on the package that you purchase. It's a piece of cloth that you can use to just wipe down the instrument and wipe the rosin dust off of it. You can even run the piece of cloth up between the strings and the fingerboard, and be very careful doing that. You don't want to knock anything out of place, but it's good for just dusting the instrument. Occasionally, the instrument's going to need a good cleaning, and with that, I recommend that you use a good violin polish. It's also kind of a cello polish. They usually have the same varnishes, and I just use a paper towel. I'll fold it about like this, and a cello has a lot of area, so I use a fair amount of it. Now, the polish that I select is not a yellow type of polish. Some yellow polishes are pretty popular. I use the white polishes. The yellow polishes are very heavy in oil, and if you have micro cracks in the instrument, the oil can get into those, and if they have to be glued later, the oil can make gluing those a bit of a trick. There are some reasons not to use polishes too heavy in oil. But the white polish, I'll just apply to a rag like this, and I'll just kind of spread it around on the rag a little bit, and then I'll just wipe it onto the instrument. And if you have sticky stuff on the instrument, if you have residues of some kind, you can like rub it and scrub it with the white polish, and that should work. And after I'm finished applying the polish, I take either a dry cloth or a dry portion of cloth, and I just rub off the polish. And it should, depending on the instrument and the varnish of course, it should theoretically leave it nice and clean. As for other handling, as I stressed before, just use common sense. Try not to bump the instrument. The most vulnerable places typically are the bridge and the neck. So be very, very careful not to bump those. One other thing I should tell you, I just remembered, as part of the kit, if you purchase a kit, and even if you don't purchase a kit, you can get a rock stop separately. Now what the rock stop is when you have the end pin extended on the instrument, if you are on a hard floor, it'll keep it from sliding around. So you'd put the rock stop down flat on a surface, and the little hole in the middle, the end pin would fit right into the hole, and it would help keep it from sliding around. That's what the rock stop is for, and you may find that to be very useful depending on what surface you're using when you practice and play. And those are some very basics that will help you take care of your cello.